We're back. Hey y'all, welcome back to Dirty Facts. This is part 5, the final chapter of our Roman Polanski deep dive. If you are just finding this, go back and start from part 1 so you have the full picture. Because what we are about to get into hits different when you know the whole story. Let's finish this. In a television interview, Polanski was remarkably candid.
Interviewer: Granted that you have this interest in young girls, wasn't an incident like the one that happened more or less bound to happen eventually?
Polanski: Looking back at it, it probably was bound to happen. Yeah.
Interviewer: Newspapers and the magazines and the books talk about you and little girls. Is there anything in it?
Polanski: Well, I like young women. Let's put it this way. I think most men do, actually. It wasn't night, it was an afternoon. I was about to make a series of photographs of young girls of that age for a French magazine called Vogue. I found it quite an interesting, enterprise because I like the girls of this age and, because the girls of that age for some reason like me, and just, it went a little bit too far. One of those on the session with this girl.
Interviewer: Granted that you have this interest in young girls, and you never concealed really that you have an interest in young girls, wasn't an incident like the one that happened more or less bound to happen eventually?
Polanski: Looking back at it, it probably was bound to happen. Yes. I have to point out that the girl has testified before the grand jury to, previous experiences. But there is the fact that there were other men in her life, and, that nobody else had the same problems that I had. Most of the people in the state of California are guilty of a similar crime since the age of consent in that state is 18. Yeah. And it's very difficult to find someone who did not have experience, before reaching this age. Well, with me, it was a bit more extreme, of course, because the girl was 2 weeks short of 14.
Interviewer: And you actually did know. You actually did know.
Polanski: I knew she was 14 because she was talking about her birthday before that.
Interviewer: Doesn't the age of consent mean precisely that? That under a certain age, whatever age it may be, it doesn't matter if the girl says yes or not, that you're supposed not to because it's...
Polanski: Yes, I know. You think of the United States, the state, when the age of consent is 12 in the United States. It varies from country to country, yes indeed. You know that's... Well, it's very easy to say it now, and you should have thought about it before. But if you find yourself with a girl in a certain situation, you don't exactly think of it.
Interviewer: Age is everything. The law is about age, not about maturity or wisdom or the future.
Polanski: But in France it's 15.
Interviewer: Okay, so it's in France that Nastasia Kinski becomes your next star. She's 15 years old and the world finds out you're having an affair with her. If the case comes to trial in California, all these things are going to...
Polanski: No, I can't get 50 years. I mean, this is the nonsense that the press writes about. 50 years. There were 20 or 19 cases in California itself of a similar nature. Nobody went to prison, or only I. There were police and people in public service involved in cases.
Interviewer: Why do women like you?
Polanski: They don't really like me so much. Let's not exaggerate. You know, they like me enough for me to get into trouble.
Interviewer: Does it flatter you that women like you?
Polanski: Of course.
Interviewer: But why do you need to be flattered so much?
Polanski: It was my ego. That's why I am where I am. Because I have this tremendous ego. You know, maybe it has to do with my size. You know, she's 5'6".
Interviewer: One of the things that you are renowned for is your recklessness. Are you a reckless person? Are you afraid of anything?
Polanski: Yes, I am reckless, but I don't tell people about it.
Polanski confirmed in open court that he had engaged in unlawful relations with a minor he knew to be 13 years old. He was found not to meet the classification of a mentally disordered offender, and then he fled. Polanski has written an apology to Samantha Geimer. Remarkably, she has stated that she forgives him. She is now married with children of her own.
Geimer? Yes, I've forgiven him. I'm fine.
Geimer has also been vocal over the years about wanting the case dropped, not because she disputes what happened, but because the ongoing media attention has caused her more harm than his escape ever did. In 2009, Polanski was arrested in Switzerland while traveling to receive an award at the Zurich Film Festival. Switzerland ultimately refused to extradite him. In 2014, he won Best Director at Cannes and received a standing ovation, allegations and all, a standing ovation, while being a fugitive. I can't get a standing ovation for finding matching Tupperware lids, but okay, sure, that's fine. A number of other women have since come forward. October 2017, German actress Renate Langer told Swiss police that Polanski assaulted her when she was 15 in 1972. October 2017, American artist Marianne Barnard accused Polanski of assaulting her when she was 10 years old. November 2019, French actress Valentine Monnier stated that Polanski violently assaulted her at a ski chalet when she was a teenager. An Interpol red notice has been issued for his arrest. He rarely leaves France. Though he was persecuted by Nazis during World War II and his mother died at Auschwitz, Polanski has stated he is an atheist. In his films, he explored occult themes through a skeptical, often ironic lens. While his films delve into devil worship and esoteric rituals, he has stated he does not believe in the supernatural, treating occultism as a stylistic tool for horror and satire. Speaking of the devil, Polanski actually hired Anton LaVey, the founder of the Church of Satan, as a consultant for Rosemary's Baby. LaVey was quoted saying,
"That would say that Satanists would like to kill. Sacrifice animals. I would say that they would make ideal human sacrifices. Satan can take the form of a beautiful woman. Satan can take the form of a sleek animal. An automobile can be very satanic." Well, when I was a teenager, I was interested in the occult. And the occult in those days meant you got dream books and you got books on fortune telling and all that sort of thing. And so I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to call up any demons, if I'm going to get anything going my way, if I'm going to get any magical power, I better get on the side of those guys instead of protecting myself from them. Sex goddesses of the past have been largely as a result of luck more than anything else. However, in the case of Jane Mansfield, she was an active member of the Church of Satan, and certainly under tragic circumstances left the Church of Satan. And the situation concerning Ms. Monroe? That was a long, long time ago, long before the Church of Satan. However, she did have an unswerving interest in the dark side of life. And I think that was one of the main reasons that we managed to hit it off the way we did. But I can assure you, Satanism is here to stay.
In The Ninth Gate, starring Johnny Depp, Polanski again delved into dark ritual themes and described the film as an advertisement for hell. Roman Polanski made a movie about a child-sacrificing cult in 1968 before he was ever exposed as a predator. That movie came out in 1968. Let that sit with you for a second. Roman Polanski's name sits in Hollywood like a contradiction that never quite resolves. On one hand, one of the most influential filmmakers of the modern era. On the other, a fugitive from justice with a documented history of predatory behavior toward minors. Polanski cultivated a persona, enigmatic, transgressive, intellectually dark, that became for some a blueprint for the idea of the dangerous genius. The idea that brilliance excuses behavior, that art exists above morality. It's one of the most enduring and troubling narratives in Hollywood. And it didn't just protect Polanski, it spread. You can see it in modern pop culture. Nicki Minaj's alter ego Roman Polanski is a direct reference, embodying chaos, unpredictability, and theatrical darkness that mirrors the mythos Polanski built around himself. Whether intentional or not, it shows how deeply his image embedded itself into the cultural imagination. When a figure like Polanski continues to be referenced and stylized without equal weight given to his actions, it sends a message that cultural contribution can outweigh personal harm. And over time, that message doesn't just stay in Hollywood, it shapes how society negotiates morality. To be clear, his criminal actions were not minor controversies. They were serious, documented, and deeply harmful. To separate his art from that reality is not neutrality, it is cultural amnesia. And when that amnesia becomes normalized, it creates space for similar patterns to repeat. It's hard to believe that people still defend this man, and yet they do. In 2017, his wife Emmanuelle Senior wrote an open letter defending him and criticizing feminist groups for what she called a lynching. And I keep coming back to this. Because, sweetie, he has told interviewers on camera that he likes girls of a certain age. On camera. Girl, run. Actress Charlotte Rampling also defended him in a 2015 interview. And of course, some actresses will speak up for him. He makes them famous. Polanski himself argued in court that law enforcement and public officials had committed similar acts and faced no consequences. He used that as justification. Let that sink in. We have to stop allowing talent to be a shield for criminal behavior. Because every time we glamorize someone like this, we send a message to the next person coming up. If you're good enough, you can get away with anything. Look at R. Kelly. He fought his legal battles for years because he still had supporters. That is on us, the public. Stop the glamorization. Real consequences matter. Roman Polanski is a complex and contradictory figure, a genuinely brilliant filmmaker shaped by severe trauma, who also has a documented history of predatory behavior toward minors. He was drawn to darkness both on and off screen, and in his own autobiography, made no attempt to hide it. He had a tremendous power over people. A friend of his was quoted saying, "You had to fall in love with him. You know, he was completely infectious. There was no resisting him." So yes, Roman Polanski influenced Hollywood. That part is undeniable. But the more important question is how we choose to carry that influence forward. Do we study his work critically, understanding both its brilliance and its cost? Or do we continue to romanticize the idea that great art can excuse great harm? Because the truth is, influence is never neutral. It either challenges us to be better or quietly teaches us what we're willing to ignore. Comment below your thoughts. And if this is your first time on Dirty Facts Hollywood, go back and start from part 1. See you on the next one. Don't forget, knowledge is power.